Good evening and welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals for January 2020. Happy New Year for those of you that are joining us for the first time this year. I'd like to call the meeting to order and we'll start with our prayer and pledge. We'll start with pledge first.
Stand, please.
I guess prayer first. Go ahead.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the town of Smyrna. We thank you for your continual blessings over our leadership and our staff and our residents, and we ask for your guidance during our discussions today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Jay and Phil. Appreciate that. Item number 3 on our agenda tonight is citizen comments, and I see none at this time.
That is correct.
Number 4 will be approval of minutes for our last meeting, which was November 21st, 2019. I hope you guys enjoyed your month off. We'll be docking your pay for that 12 months, or for that 12th month. Approval of the minutes, those are in your packet. Assume you've had time to review those. Any corrections or updates? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve
I'll second it.
and a second. All of those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Number 5 on our agenda tonight is new business. We have one special exception request. It looks like the first one has been removed. So our first special exception request is Nadia Jarrer at Minehead Drive. I hope I said that right. If I didn't, I'm sorry. You want to take that, Mitch?
Yeah. This is a special exception request to allow an in-home bakery business at 8203 Minehead Drive. Property is zone R3, which is medium density, single-family residential, and is approximately 0.23 acres in size. Applicant states the business would be a home-based sourdough bakery which specializes in natural leavening bread, where the baker uses a sour culture to raise the bread instead of using commercial yeast. The applicant will also mill her own grains into flour to make the bread. The applicant states many of the ingredients will be sourced locally and she personally will pick up these ingredients. No deliveries of ingredients or products will occur. Bakery items are planned to be sold at markets with no direct sales to any persons from the residential home. Section 7.060B of the zoning ordinance details requirements for authorizing special exceptions, and they are as follows. Conditional use permit shall be provided the board finds that it A, is so designed, located, and proposed to be operated so that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. Staff finds the proposed business of an in-home bakery should not have any of the above effects, and that the business is being conducted within an enclosed garage space and not sold to the public from the home. B, will not adversely affect other property in the area. Staff finds the proposed use should not adversely affect other properties in the surrounding area. C, is within provisions of special exceptions. In-home occupations are considered as special exceptions within the zoning ordinance. D, conforms to all applicable provisions of the ordinance for the district in which it is to be located, as well as provisions cited in section 7.060 and 7.061, and is necessary for public convenience and location planned. Staff finds the site may be able to conform to all provisions of the zoning ordinance as listed in criteria review section 7.060C. Criteria for review, ingress and egress to the property. Access to the site will utilize the existing driveway off of Minehead Drive. Off-street parking. Staff finds the lot provides sufficient space for parking with enough room in the driveway, being there will be no outside foot traffic or truck deliveries to this business. Refuse and service areas. Refuse collection will proceed in the same manner as currently. Utilities. This location has all the necessary utilities available on site. The electrical inspections are in progress, which has passed a rough-in and is still waiting a final inspection. Screening and buffering is not applicable in this case. Signs, if any, proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic, safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with properties in the district. The applicant has stated that there will be no signs which are utilized for this business. Staff finds that the proposed business will fit the compatibility with properties in the same district with the reference to the above effects. Required yard and other open space. Staff finds there is adequate space in this lot to support the business as everything will be conducted within the garage. General compatibility with adjacent properties. Staff finds the use may be compatible with adjacent properties, and number 9 is not applicable in this case. Staff recommends approval of this request and that the board consider applying conditions including but not limited to deliveries, signage, and employees of potential future homeowners who want to continue the operation of a bakery at this location. The applicant will also need to meet with the building official to ensure proper building code requirements are being met for all the equipment that was added to the garage to conduct this business. And as stated earlier about the electrical inspection, the applicant will also need to attain a final electrical inspection in order to meet code. That's all I have. Couple of pictures. This is looking at the applicant's house from the road. Just a couple pictures of the equipment that are inside the garage. And this is just an overall layout of what the garage looks like. And that's all I have.
Excellent. All right, thank you, Mitch. At this time, I will close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against this request. If you would like to speak, please come to the microphone. It's completely up to you.
I don't know if anybody wants to ask
Okay.
questions. Or...
If you can, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Nadia Gerard. I live at 8203 Minehead Drive.
Okay, excellent. Appreciate you coming forward. Any questions or comments? I think everything looks pretty self-explanatory. I read your letter that pretty much everything's going to be happening in the garage, and you don't intend on having people coming to your house to pick it up or deliveries. You're just baking it and then taking it places to sell it. That's the way I
Correct.
understand it. No signage. Everything seems to be pretty straightforward. Any questions from any of you guys?
No, and as far as conditions on this, I believe we already have ordinances in place pertaining to signage as well as the employees. So there's already things in place for that. Nothing we have to really put an additional condition upon.
I don't know about employees.
There is when a applicant wishes to have an in-home business, they have to sign a form from our department that one of the conditions on there states that no other outside employees other than those that reside at the business address are allowed to be there operating it. So it's already in there if you just want to mention
Okay.
it.
So there's not really an additional condition, that's something built in already. We're not using signage, but even if so, as long as it adheres to our current ordinance, there's no additional condition. It may just need to be said that we need to put a condition that deliveries cannot be made to the residents at any time, just to make sure that goes to it. I don't think we have anything specific about that, so maybe we put that condition on it if we decide to approve. Any other employees? Nothing, everything,
Nope.
here's all in the
Nope,
line?
just all
No
me.
signs, no deliveries? Okay, all right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I will, anyone else that would like to speak before I close the public hearing? Not seeing anyone, we'll close the public hearing and reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion and motion if there is one.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request based on the condition that there are no deliveries allowed to come to the address. And as we said before, signage and employees and all that's already been covered by just following the ordinances we already have in place.
All right, does that sound pretty good, Counselor? Are we okay with that?
Yes, sounds good.
All right, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval based on the conditions that have been stated, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, the motion is approved. Thank you. Next item on our agenda we have is, let me get back to the agenda. All right, we have a zoning variance request from David Soquist. Showquist. All right, the J is an H. Got it. Okay. At 100 Mingo Lane. Mitch, if you'll handle that.
This is a zoning variance request that the applicant's requesting for approximately 208 square feet in order to construct a detached garage. Property is zone R2, low-density residential, and it's approximately 0.95 acres in size. The ordinance states that for lots between 0.34 and 1 acre in size, the maximum allowed accessory building square footage may be 800 square feet total. Applicant's property has 3 existing detached structures at this time, an old shed, which is about 196 square feet, new shed, which is 288 square feet, and a 700 square foot carport. The new shed was purchased by the applicant, and the builders told the applicant a permit would not be required if it was built off-site. Permit has not been pulled for this yet, but applicant is under the understanding that a permit will be required. Applicant plans on keeping the new shed, but is okay with removing the old shed as it has deteriorated. The existing carport will be replaced with a new 720 square foot garage. With the new garage and barn, the total detached square footage would equate to 1,008 square feet, which is 208 over the ordinance allowed 800 square feet. The applicant wants an enclosed garage to park his business van, which has temperature-sensitive equipment in it for his business, and utilize the additional space for other home projects. Section 7.080D of the zoning ordinance detail the requirements for variances not involving special flood hazard areas, and they are detailed below. Particular physical, surrounding, shape, topographic conditions of the specific property involved that would result in a particular hardship upon the owner as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict application of the ordinance were carried out must be stated. Staff finds there is no specific hardship present. While the property does have significant topography change in the rear, it is not as prominent in the location for which the garage is planned. The conditions upon which a petition for a variance is based would not be applicable generally to other property within the same district. Staff finds there are no unique conditions regarding this property except for the topography change that would not be applicable to other property in the same district. The variance would not authorize activities in a zone district other than those permitted by this ordinance. Customary accessory buildings are allowed by right in residential districts of this size but are not to exceed 800 square feet. Financial returns have not been identified as a reason for requesting this variance. Alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having an interest in the property. The alleged difficulty or hardship was created by the applicant in this case. The new shed was installed on the property without proper permitting, which they were unaware of at the time. Without the new shed, a variance for detached accessory square footage would not be needed. The topography of the property has not been created by the applicant, however. Granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. Staff finds the variance requested will provide the applicant with special privileges denied by the ordinance to other lands, buildings, or structures. The variance is the minimum that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. Staff finds the requested additional square footage is not required to make possible the reasonable use of the building. Granting the variance will not be detrimental to other public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area. Staff finds the variance will not be detrimental to any of the above effects, as the residence resides on a private drive with 3 homes and sits about 500 feet off of the main road. The proposed variance will not impair adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, substantially increase the congestion in the public streets, increase danger of fire, endanger the public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values. Staff finds the variance will not have any of the above effects, and number 10 is not applicable in this case. Staff recommends denial of this request of the zoning variance of 208 square feet of additional detached square footage due to no apparent hardship present regarding this request. A couple pictures of the site. This is the existing carport on the site. These are 3 structures currently present on the site. The existing carport, this is the older shed, and then this is the newer shed. This is a map detailing the topography of the property, just showing how steep it is in the rear of the property. There is a little bit of topography change from this line to this line right here. Not too significant, but there's a little bit of a slope right there. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Mitch. At this time, I will close the Board of Zoning Appeals again and open a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against this request. If you would like to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, please.
It's David Shoquist, and it's 100 Mingle Lane. I've read through the, what you allowed for the variance. The map doesn't show too well the The topography, we have a lot of rock underneath, and where that line is, it runs from the carport, like between the house and the carport. Actually, you can kind of see the rocks that are over there, but it's about a 2-foot drop from that land down. You know, we were told that we could put the garage size we want as long as it was attached to the house, but to attach it to the house would move it so far forward, and then there's utilities, power lines that come up there, and you can see the rise of the land. And then also where the carport is now is really the only place that a garage can be built for any level, because from the one side of the carport to the other is a 10-inch drop. And we had, when they built the garage for my neighbor, we asked the people about building one for us also, and they came over with their measuring equipment to measure the land, the elevations. And we thought about building a garage in front of it and then moving everything out of the carport into the garage and then getting rid of the carport at that point. And I say 10 inches, it's a 13-inch drop from one side of the carport to the other. If we put a garage in front of it, it's a 26-inch drop from one side to the other, because the land doesn't just drop this way, it drops this way. It drops to the front. So, and then the grass that's in the bottom right is, the ground there is very soft with intermittent rocks. So to put a garage up closer and attach it, we'd have to try to level the land at over, at least a minimum of 2 feet. And then the drop off trying to drive in, that's quite a bit of dropping down. So the only other thing is, we have the 2 vehicles. We're going to have 2 garage doors on it, but we also talked about, because of the distance to the street and the mailbox, getting a golf cart or something, for getting out there as we're getting older, because this is where we're planning to retire, so getting close to that age. But that's why we want that. And no one, we've got tree lines. You really can't even see the property back there from the road, from Sam Davis Road. And it, like he said, it does not affect anybody or anything for us to have that on there. The only ones that is affected are my wife and I. And that's, I don't know if I missed anything here or not, but we've really only got one place to put the garage, and to try to put a walkway or a covered walkway from the house all the way back to the area where the garage is would be, I don't know how much that would cost. It'd be cost prohibitive, and then it would also, at that point, it would block, we have our septic, and if we ever have to have the septic pumped, it's in the back of the house, and you wouldn't be able to get a truck back there to pump it. So.
Okay. Any questions for Mr.
Showquist.
Showquist? I'll get it right in a minute. Showquist. Questions, comments? All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
This time I will, anyone else that would like to speak for or against this request? Not seeing anyone, we will close the public hearing and reopen Board of Zoning Appeals for comments and a motion. One comment I'll add is most of the information that Mr. Showquist gave us was about the positioning of the garage. I don't think there's any concerns with the side setbacks or setbacks as far as where he can put it from an ordinance perspective. I understand there may be topography reasons why he needs to put it in a certain spot, but the town isn't putting any restrictions on where he places it, right? So this is just for the additional square footage. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. So my initial thought and the concern that I have is that although I agree, I'm very familiar with this piece of property. My wife worked at Smyrna Elementary for 10 years, and we played soccer back there in the fields behind there, so I know right where this is, and I do agree that generally no one would see it from Sam Davis home road, or maybe your one neighbor, but that's about it. The concern that I've got is consistency. To my knowledge, we have never as long as I've been on this board, we've never approved this type of request for additional square footage. We have had requests come in that didn't meet it, and then they petitioned the council to change the ordinance, which may or may not have happened. I don't remember. I think we did change one ordinance, but that would be my concern. If we granted this variance with the thought process that no one would really see it, then anyone that has trees could come and argue the same thing. And we've been consistent. I just built a garage at my house and had to stay under 600 square feet for the same reasons. And honestly, it's the same situation. Mine's pretty tucked back there and wouldn't hurt anybody, but we've been very consistent with it, and that's my only concern is we'd be setting up a precedent or breaking a precedent. Other than that, comments or concerns or thoughts?
I agree, Mr. Chairman. I think the problem is the positioning makes sense. The problem here is the total allowable square footage, and not really the placement of where you're putting it, but the fact that plus the shed would be too much. And I mean, it's unfortunate. We take no pleasure in denying a request, but with the shed being new and it didn't have a permit, I mean, I'm disappointed that's something that you have to deal with. The problem is it puts you over square footage with what you want to build. The chairman's correct on as far as what we've done in being consistent with square footage. Without a particular hardship where there would be a reason to allow more square footage, which I can't see how that's met, although I'd like to. I don't see how we could approve it based on no particular hardship of you needing more space. Really, with the shed is removed, the garage works where you want it, and it could even be a little bit larger. I wish we weren't in a position that the shed plus that puts you over, especially that you've just paid for a new shed. At this point, what we're looking at is if we have a reason to allow more square footage, and I don't believe it's met from a consistency standpoint. I have no pleasure in saying that, but that's one of the problems on this board is just to look at what our ordinances are and say the best way to change that in the future would be to petition the ordinance to change to allow more. But that's not what we're here to discuss today. Ours is if we can allow it, and I don't see a reason that we can, although I want to, but I don't see a reason we can.
Scott or Jay, anything to add?
I think he summed it up.
Okay, we have a motion.
I will move to deny the request of the zoning variance of additional square footage due to no apparent hardship present.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor of denial of the request due to no apparent hardship, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed of the denial? It's a double negative. And so the motion is denied, sir. Next item on our agenda is staff comments and weather. Do we have anything?
I have nothing.
Nothing? If not, we'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.